Good morning, everyone. This is Laura Waugh with the Texas Digital Library, and thank you for joining us today for our May TDL Forum. I'm joined here by Christy Park, our Executive Director, also Courtney Muma, our Services Manager, and Ryan Steens, our Assistant Director. So we'll go ahead and get started today. We've got quite a few interesting topics. First, just a few things to mention about the upcoming TCDL that will be next week. Hope you are all planning to come, and we look forward to seeing you. But also a few director updates and some reporting on a recent Chronopolis meeting, a Texas data repository pilot project, and then a couple of upcoming events to mark your calendars for. So first, next week, on Tuesday, we begin the 2017 Texas Conference on Digital Libraries. And as a reminder, there are a number of pre-conference and special workshops around the TCDL. So first, starting on Tuesday, we have an all-day Hydra workshop from the folks at Digital Curation Experts. Also from 9 to 12, we have Dataverse and the Texas Data Repository, which will be with Christy Park, Courtney Muma, and Sandy Thompson. And we also, from 9 to 12, have Introducing the Weaver Framework, the technology behind Vario 4, and that will be with the developers at Texas A&M University. In the afternoon, we have a low-cost metadata management tools and tips for catalogers workshop that is going to be very valuable, especially for those that are working with metadata. And then we have a special session from 1 o'clock to 2:30 that will be an update on the Vario ETD management submission system that the Texas A&M folks have been developing. And also on Thursday, the last day of the workshop, in the afternoon we have the last day of the conference, we have a special Tableau workshop and demonstration by the folks there. So just be aware that these are, I'm sorry, Anna, I just saw that you may be having trouble with the volume. Is this better at all? Hopefully this will help, but just a reminder that these workshops are free and part of your TCDL registration, but we do ask that you do a separate registration, and all of that information is found on the conference website. There's just limited seating for those workshops. And there are also a number of TCDL meetings where we will be having special sessions and group meetings. So Wednesday we have a Birds of a Feather Scholarly Communications, Open Repositories, and You with Ed Warga from Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And then also from 12 to 1 we have the Vario Users Group meeting. Thursday we have 2 lunch meetings, a Birds of a Feather on cost modeling for digital preservation, a DSpace education working group, and then in the afternoon, we have the Texas Archivematica user group meeting and South Central States Fedora users group meeting. So be sure to mark your calendars, and if you haven't already registered, there's still time. So we look forward to seeing you all next week. And I'm going to hand it over to Christy Park now.
Thank you so much, Laura. There is so much going on at TCDL next week. We're kind of bursting at the seams and threatening to overflow into another day at TCDL next year. But it's really exciting to have all these things going on, and it's our favorite week of the year at TDL when we get to host all of our members and folks who are not members from across the state and across the country, really, and internationally even, here in Texas to talk about what's going on with digital libraries. So we're looking forward to seeing you next week. And I want to say a big thank you to Laura, who's just been working so hard to with the committee, which who are all doing a great job to pull this together for us next week. I wanted to plug one more TCDL related thing, which is a presentation that Nick Woodward and I will be leading on Thursday at 10:30 I think it's session 6. Oh, I can't remember what the session number is. I didn't include it here. Oh yeah, I did, 5B, where we're going to be talking about our work with some partners at University of North Texas and Houston Public Library to develop an expanded DPLA service hub for Texas. And this is work that we've talked about here and there in this forum, but this will be an opportunity to go into a little more depth on the work that we're doing there and what we hope this will lead to for TDL members and for Texas libraries and archives more generally. So we hope that you'll, many of you will take the opportunity to hear about it there. We'll also update you in future forums on this work if you can't come. Okay. Just a quick update on last month's forum topic, which was talking about changes to the membership structure. We are moving forward with contracts under that new model, and want to just remind you that any increases resulting from this change will be phased in over a 3-year period. We are scheduled to send out the contracts for next year by July 1st, so you should be seeing those over the summer for the fiscal year starting September 1. So we've also updated since last forum the website that has this membership information. So if you need something to refer to, it's there on the website. And if you have any questions, as always, you're welcome to just get in touch with me or Ryan or anyone here at TDL to get your questions answered. So finally for me, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some conversations that we've been having internally and with some of our members here and there, and kind of share with you some newly forming thoughts about ways that we can engage with our membership and get greater engagement and more open engagement with a larger number of people within the membership on issues of interest, the collective interest. And as I said, these are kind of newly forming thoughts. This is really a preliminary conversation. We're not really presenting anything that we are saying we're going to do. We just want to kind of put this out there and get some feedback from you all. But what we have been feeling lately is that we would like to do more to support the development of collaborative communities within TDL. And for TDL to serve as this kind of creative hub for collaborative work on issues of mutual interest to the community. We want to support member-driven collaborations, sort of grassroots efforts at collaboration and knowledge sharing, and we want to promote inclusive and open engagement of all TDL members so that we're not hand-selecting people to participate, but we're fostering a sense of open innovation and collaboration across the TDL community. Excuse me. So this slide just shows a number of the committees and working groups and other groups that we have active right now or that have been active in the past. So we do obviously do a lot of collaborative work with members across Texas. We have our TCDL committee and awards committee. We have a number of working groups. Right now, the DSpace Education Working Group is the most active one currently. We also have, over the past year, we've always had a very active Vireo users group. Over the past year or so, a couple of other technology-focused users groups have grown up that we help to coordinate and support. the South Central States Fedora users group, and an Archivematica users group. And we have these kind of somewhat defunct or in hibernation groups, the DSpace users group and a metadata community. And all of these things in this rightmost column really represent things that are, they're focused on an issue or a technology or an area of interest. They're open. They're not focused on a specific task necessarily, like a working group, and they're sort of semi-permanent groups. We would like to find ways to encourage formation of more groups along those lines, either focused on a technology, as these tend to be, or on an area, just an area of library practice, of interest. And so we've been thinking about ways that we could maybe support that. And one of the things that we've been talking about is a toolkit that TDL could provide, perhaps, to support formation of groups. And just as an example, if someone really thought we need to have a scholarly communications interest group within TDL, where people who are engaged with scholarly communications in their library can talk to each other and do knowledge sharing and maybe have meetings and whatever else they decide is part of that. What could TDL do to support that? So we've come up with this, we've brainstormed this list so far. Obviously, we can provide email lists and space and time for meetings at TCDL. We've done a lot more of that at this TCDL already. Maybe we could provide support for an in-person meeting outside of TCDL. We can certainly provide amplification of news and announcements for the group. Maybe we could provide collaboration tools like Basecamp or BlueJeans. And maybe we could incentivize the formation of groups by offering discounts for group chairs or some sort of written acknowledgement of service that could be beneficial from a professional development perspective. So those are just some things we've thought about we're kind of trying to get our juices flowing and are asking for your feedback about maybe what else we could do that might be meaningful in this area. And then we thought a little bit about requirements for how could we keep our groups accountable and focused. We want to provide some structure, but not too much structure, right? Not so much that it's a burden. But we thought about, you need a chair for a group. You need a clear written charge. There needs to be some threshold of interest that needs to be met for TDL to be willing to support the formation of a group. A requirement to hold meetings and maybe a requirement to report back to the TDL membership, either at TCDL or through written reports or some other mechanism. So again, these are just some things we've thought about. And I've thrown all that at you. What we'd like to solicit from you is some feedback. And you can tell us now in chat if you want to raise your hand. We can unmute you or give you microphone privileges, and you can tell us about it on the call today. That would be wonderful if you want to do that, but this is all kind of new information. I've also created a little Google survey linked here on this slide that I will also send out to the community list after this forum, where you can give us some feedback there as well. And always, you're welcome to contact me or Laura if you have thoughts or questions. We would love to talk to you about it. And next week, if you're here and want to talk to one of us about it, we'd love to hear from you then as well. So we will, I think maybe because of the time here, we can go ahead and move on with other slides in the presentation. But as you're thinking, we should have time at the end if you want to ask any questions or give any feedback here today. Okay. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Courtney to talk a little bit about some other exciting stuff that's going on here at TDL.
Hi, everybody. This is Courtney. I just have a couple of things to update you on today. First, here on this slide, you see our Chronopolis in-person meeting just happened this Monday and Tuesday. This is part of our ever-expanding digital preservation services. We're particularly excited about this new partnership, and even more so after a successful meeting this week. We had members of the University of California, San Diego, Sybil Schaefer and Tim Marconi there joined us. And then from the University of Maryland Institute for Advanced Computer Studies, Mike Ritter also came to join us. And they're all from the Chronopolis team. And we also had several remote attendees. What we did is basically mostly discussion and working meetings. So we talked about the history of both TDL and Chronopolis. We talked about the architecture of Chronopolis and specifically how it would be installed here at TDL and how the testing would go here. And we created a timeline for those things as well. And then we had a really great discussion yesterday about the service model, and you'll hear a lot more about that in the coming months. We're looking to do our soft launch in late July, August, and then kind of the bigger official push in the early fall. So you'll be hearing a lot more about this. You'll hear a little about it next week at TCDL, and we can answer questions anytime about it. But we're real excited, and this was a very successful meeting this week. And the other thing I wanted to update y'all on is regarding the Texas Data Repository. We are going to work on a pilot with Texas A&M starting in June, so right after TCDL wraps. And we've already done some minor steps to get started with this pilot. What we need is outside researcher authentication. And so the problem space we're working in is that Dataverse isn't currently set up for outside researchers to work on projects with local researchers. Anna Dabrowski brought this problem to us from Texas A&M. And we figured out that working with the Dataverse team at Harvard, that the recent Dataverse upgrade actually includes many options for two-factor authentication, which would then allow outside researchers to work with local researchers. And so the pilot's going to test implementation of one of those options, which is something called OAuth 2. I welcome you to Google it if you're interested, but we'll tell you more about that coming in June and July, especially when we get to figuring out what the results of that pilot are. The plan is, and it looks like the pilot will go swimmingly based on everything we know about Dataverse and how this works. So we'll probably be able to launch this for everyone very soon after the pilot completes. So I just want to extend thanks again to Anna and Bruce at Texas A&M for bringing this to our attention and for agreeing to be our guinea pigs here. We're excited for this work to start happening next month. And that's all I have for you today. I see that there are some questions. Okay, so Stephanie is asking, is Chronopolis an extension of the Deepen project or something separate? So Stephanie, that's a great question. And I'm excited that I'll be presenting this whole suite of services for digital preservation next week at TCDL. But for now, I just want to let you know that Chronopolis is part of the digital preservation services suite, not part of Deepen, but definitely part of the whole suite of services that we're going to be able to provide for y'all. That includes Amazon S3 and Glacier as well. And I hope that answers your question. All right. Okay, great. Thanks, Stephanie. And thanks, Bruce. You're pretty great, too. Handing over to Laura.
Okay, just a couple of quick reminders about some upcoming events while you're formulating those questions and getting your juices flowing. But there is an upcoming Open Journal Systems training on June 8th from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It is online and free, of course. If you'd like to brush up on some of your Open Journal System training or just get started, or if you have some faculty members that even have some specific questions, it's mostly an overview of the essential concepts that you'll need to get started using OJS. So if you're interested, you can go to tdl.org/classes. And then also a reminder that the registration is open now for Fedora Camp. And this is being hosted by the Texas Digital Library, the UT Libraries, and DuraSpace. And this will be in October here in Austin at the Perry Castaneda Library. One nice benefit of being part of the TDL is that you can select the member rate during your registration checkout and receive a special discounted price. But this should be a wonderful opportunity to learn more about Fedora. It's a 3-day camp. It's open to everyone, so we hope you'll take advantage. And of course, if you have any questions about that or anything else at all, you can contact us anytime. But we also have a few minutes here if you have questions today. And one just reminder, we do have the TDL Google Group. So if you have upcoming events at your university, or if you're working on a project, maybe you even have a technical question about how to do something in DSpace or OJS, you can always add that to the TDL Community Google Group, and that reaches our entire TDL community, those that are subscribed, but most of you. And you can go ahead and post that and get answers. And we hope you'll start forming some discussions and really utilizing that as a forum for promoting your events and projects and just keeping the communication lines open. And there's a link here, and it's also on the TDL.org website. So if you're not sure if you're a member yet, feel free to join anytime or just start posting things. And of course, our next TDL Forum will be in June, June 21st, and we will be talking about the Digital Preservation Network. We'll have a speaker, Sean Buckner from Texas A&M University, who's the preservation librarian there, and he'll have some updates. And of course, we'll have more information about that soon and after TCDL. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. But that's all we have today.
Okay. Are there any questions? You can enter them in the chat window. We have a couple people typing, and this is also an opportunity if you have thoughts about the interest group formation, you can share them now as well. Okay, at the last Dataverse meeting, we mentioned the possibility of the pre-conference meeting at TCDL having a virtual option. Will that pan out?
Hi, yeah, Diana, this is Courtney. That's definitely happening. We were using Blue Jeans for our last steering committee meeting for the TDR Dataverse, and we hadn't yet purchased it, so we're purchasing it right now, and as soon as I get that all set, I'm going to be sending you a link to attend that.
Okay, you'd mentioned a level of interest for interest groups. Were there some areas for potential interest groups that you see that show that already? Well, I think scholarly communications is one that's come up a little bit, and I think a natural fit for TDL. I think just based on past discussions, there's always interest in metadata issues and having a forum for people to talk to each other about metadata. I could envision, I mean, since this is UT Southwestern asking, I could envision, and as we maybe added other academic medical libraries, an interest group for issues around that are specific to academic medical libraries, perhaps.
Another topic Another topic I've seen come up recently has been ADA compliance in digital libraries and with some of those types of topics. So that's another possibility.
That's a great one. And another one I've thought about some is assessment topics, especially assessment around digital collections. So those are just a few things. And in that survey, one of the questions I ask is, has a list of possible interest group topics or areas. So you can kind of look through that and maybe get some ideas. But really, it's anything that members feel there is a need for, and we need to think through a mechanism for how we could gauge interest within the community and what that threshold of interest would need to be. In order to kind of formally form a group. But I think that the possibilities are kind of infinite in some ways for what a group could form around. Okay.
Hi, Ray. This is Courtney. So Ray asks, will the upcoming TDR workshops at TCDL focus on a basic overview of the TDR, or is the focus on new stuff, basically? So there are two things at TCDL next week. There is a workshop, which is on TDR Dataverse, and that's just going to be a basic usage workshop. So we won't be touching on the pilot coming up at all or any of the digital preservation needs for research data behind Dataverse. There's also a TDR steering committee meeting following that workshop in the afternoon on Tuesday. And in that meeting, the TDR steering committee is going to be looking at completing our charter and also building out our roadmap for the TDR. And we will make all of that public as soon as the minutes are completed from that meeting, and we'll report out to everyone what occurred there.
And I believe too, Courtney, that you're going to be presenting on the digital preservation services specifically in another session during the main conference, correct? So in that session, Courtney will kind of lay out her vision for digital preservation services at TDL and kind of clarify what our services and service model are for those. So that's another opportunity to really get a sense of digital preservation services specifically. A lot coming at you next week at TCDL.
Yes, if you haven't already registered for the TCDL, you should go ahead and do that today. It will be an epic conference that you won't want to miss.
That's right. And you will make Laura's life a lot easier if you register today rather than waiting until next week.
Yes, very true.
All right. Well, I think that we are, we've still got a couple of minutes. I'll make one final call for questions. Going once, going twice. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you all next week. And thanks, Laura and Courtney, for participating. Thanks for all the great questions. Y'all take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.